I'm up to 60 people. It's 7 o'clock. I suggest that we wait 1 more minute before we start, just in case there's some stragglers. Kevin, are we going to make the slide deck available on our website?
Yes, Brian. So we're going to make the slide deck available, and eventually we'll make a recording of the presentation available.
Okay, Reese was just asking that. Okay, we're up to 68 people. And we'll get started, and I'll admit people as they deep in here. So I'd like to welcome everyone to the Ontario Lawn Bowling Association hosting a successful tournament. We have Brad Shin and Neil Montgomery here to help us deliver this tonight. And I'm Brian Blair. I'm the OLBA Director of Championships. So I will be facilitating the call tonight. You can go to the next slide, Brad. Thank you. So this is an online meeting. Attendees will be muted. If you have a question, you can type it into the chat box down on the bottom, and I will attempt to answer your questions as we go along. And just so everyone is aware, we are recording this presentation so that we can post it on the OLBA website once we're done. So I'm excited for this tonight. Not only do we have a couple of good presenters, very knowledgeable presenting for us tonight, but I'm looking forward to hearing from you people. You've got 71 people online right now, and I'm sure there's a real mix of experience. Some new people wanting to learn, and some other people that have ran tournaments for years. And in my navigating through tournaments myself, I've noticed that clubs all run tournaments a little bit differently. So we have a guideline document on our website, and that's what it is. It's a guideline for you to follow, but it's only a guideline. You can divert off of it any which way you feel necessary. And it's up to your club to formulate a successful tournament. And I think from my experience in running tournaments at my club, it's a level of anxiety that we all have to contend with. From the time that you had your spring meeting and you've decided you're going to hold a number of tournaments, and if you're the person running the show, you are likely dealing with this anxiety, and all these things are racing through your mind. What type of tournament is it going to be? Is it going to be open pairs, mixed pairs? Are we going to do triples? How many ends? Are we lining up to do a dinner, a lunch, or is it going to be brown bag? We have all these variables that we have to contend with. So that's our mandate as a convener for a tournament, to work through all that, build a team of people to make it successful. So I'll leave you with the thought that it's the night before the tournament. It's raining. The forecast is calling for rain. What are you going to do as the convener? So I'll just leave that thought hanging out there and see where it goes to. Okay. So I'm going to turn this over to Brad and Neil at this point and enjoy the presentation.
Thank you very much, Brian. And my name's Brad Shin, and I'm going to kick this off. I'm a match director at the Highland Park in Ottawa. Been doing this for a few years, but I also have a lot of years organizing tournaments and playdowns and events in the curling community. In fact, actually running 2 Briars that were held in Ottawa. I was on the organizing committees for those. So those are bigger than a club tournament, but hopefully some of these elements we share with you tonight will help you out. So I'm going to start off with just a sort of putting a framework around this. What Neil and I are going to share tonight is a practical guide as opposed to a how-to guide. As Brian said, everyone here has got lots of experience. So we're just going to try to point out some secrets to success. Some of the key elements that we all want to keep in mind before the tournament, during the tournament, and one of the parts that gets forgotten most often is the post-event. We're going to try to identify some of the benefits that are in there for the club, for the sponsors, and for the participants. Because if you're going to have a successful tournament, those are the key players that we're going to be addressing. We're going to build on the OLB a guideline, but we're going to assume that everyone here is already familiar with it, so we're not going to spend a lot of time there. So you finished a tournament, and you want to know, well, how do I know if it was a good tournament or not? Well, one element is your next tournament or the next year's edition of your same tournament. Is it well attended, or have you noticed that your attendance is heading down? The one thing to keep in mind is you've got 3 types of entries of folks who are going to sign up. You're going to have those that expect to win. Those are your competitive bowlers that are coming in here. You'll also get people who would be surprised to win, but are still on the competitive side. And then you're also going to get people that are just there to play in the event. And this is something that you've got to keep in mind, because to run a really successful tournament, you need all of those people involved in the process. You're not just going to get the most elite bowlers, or you're not. It's not just a fun thing. So you need that mix in your tournaments. Neil, oh,
All right, I'll introduce myself. I'm Neil Montgomery. I've run the tournaments at Nepean Lawn Bowls for a few years. We have a special challenge at Nepean. It's a carpet surface. So for some people find it very intimidating. Other people really love coming out for that challenge. There's a phrase that I hear sometimes in lawn bowling. When I'm speaking, I'm going to talk about three phrases that I actually either don't like them or I find them a bit troubling when I hear them. And this is the first one. So it's in quotes there. We're just here to have fun. When I hear someone say that, to me, it means they're probably not having fun. And what they're doing is they're expressing some sort of dissatisfaction. And what it tends to come down to, in my experience, is that the three types of people, and all people, but the three types that Brad mentioned on the previous slide, are going to have different values when it comes to a tournament, and those values will transform and express themselves with different expectations. In other words, fun is going to mean something different to different people. So here's an example that I've put up that Brian mentioned earlier on. The next day is going to be rain, and then I've added it. Then it's going to be hot and humid afterwards. So if someone who is playing to win competitively is still going to expect that the playing conditions are as good as they can be, even though it's raining, and they don't want shortened games. You know, they've taken the time to go there and they want to play the full tournament. Whereas someone who is there just to play with their friends, or they don't feel quite as comfortable in the heat or the rain, their expectation is going to be, well, it's okay if, you know, we wouldn't want the greenskeeper to get caught in the rain, so it's okay if they weren't cut. And it would be great if we could shorten the games so that we don't spend so much time in the heat. And the draw master, who's the one who's going to have to make the decision about these things, is not going to be able to make everybody happy. And there's a lot of other ways that people can perceive fun as being different. You can have the cost, the prize money, the travel time, parking, level of competition, whether the laws of the sport are being followed for the most part, or whether things are sort of done casually. So if you are a tournament convener and people are probably not going to tell you that they didn't have fun, but they won't come back if their expectations aren't being met. And it's a pretty big balancing act. So I just wanted to give you that to think about, and then we'll move on with more from Brad.
so this evening we're going to work on two types of tournaments: your club tournaments and your open tournaments. Club tournaments, these can build relationships within your club, which is really important when you're looking at retention of members, developing the sport, having people grow within the sport. Gives you a chance to meet new people. I'm a Tuesday night jitney player, and all of a sudden I'm playing in a tournament on a Saturday morning. Geez, there's a whole bunch of people that play on Mondays and Thursdays. I've never seen them, and here it is, a chance to meet. One thing with your club tournaments is to distinguish them from your fixed leagues or your jitney play. Look at some fun formats. A Scotch pairs tournament versus just a regular pairs tournament. Just introduce some different elements to the game. And something that's very important about club tournaments, if you're looking at growth within the game, it gives people a chance to experience a tournament play as opposed to just a club game. They get to know what a tournament is. And so if they decide, okay, well, I'm bowling at Highland Park and Nepean has this event and I wouldn't mind going in, I've at least gone through some experience at the club level that will say, okay, I'm going to feel a lot more comfortable going to this other club because I have some element of what the expectations are. Your open tournaments, well, it's good for the district and the related clubs. Neil and I are coming from the eastern side of this province, so our district's rather large and the distances are greater. I know in the Toronto and the Western Ontario part, the distances between districts are a little closer. So I guess really that slide should have said good for districts because I'm sure you have a lot more crossover within the districts for your open tournaments than we might have up here in Ottawa. Generally, your open tournaments are a little more competitive. But another element to keep in mind for all tournaments is that this allows for cooperation with your community, not just the community of bowlers, but the community at large, as well as your relationship with the sponsors, which again is a way for growing the sport and making things better. Neil?
So what does it all take then? I put a little thought into it, and I think what it takes to have a good tournament is, first of all, you got to do things properly. And we're going to talk about a lot of elements of doing things properly because it starts right from the pre-planning stages. But at the same time, you don't want to alienate people by being so fussy about things. You also need to build the relationships. And building relationships shows up in some pretty surprising places, which I'll get to later on. So go ahead, Brad.
So we'll begin this this section. We're going to talk about planning, but you'll see that the planning spreads pretty quickly to other elements. So well in advance, you've got to schedule the date, and this is part of your own club calendar as well as your district. And of course, we can't forget Sam. Again, for looking at these elements. But at this point, when you're starting to look at your calendars and stuff, you want to set the format right up front on whether it's a pairs or a triples or any number. What are the number of games? How many ends are you going to play? Those fundamentals for your tournament will come into play as you start to grow and market and promote this. Right up front, and this is something you've got to do, is contact the sponsor and align your objectives right away with what they want and what you're hoping to get from the club. And then ensure that your club structure is set up that you can actually cover all of the tasks that are going to be necessary for you to put this tournament on and not have things fall through the cracks. So going back to the calendar, starting with your club calendar, within your own calendar, spread your events out. Don't put all your pairs tournaments at the front end and all your triples at the back. Spread them out over the season. Also look at the weeks that you're involved. The more back-to-back weeks you end up with your club and open tournaments, the more you've got the chance for burnout and people getting disenchanted. When you're looking at your district calendars, again, make sure you spread out the events to avoid conflicts. Try to have equitable distribution. There's only so many Saturdays or Thursdays in a season, and make sure that all of the clubs have their opportunities to host their events. and they're not just left with the dregs. And again, I'll say it again, but don't forget Sam for your event. For any tournament, it takes people, it takes a team, and spread the workload. The more people you can get involved, the better the outcome will be. People aren't feeling rushed because they got 36 other things to do. So your tournament convener or your match director, however you're set up, they take the lead for the organization of this. If they're not part of the board, make sure that they're reporting to the board and they keep the board abreast of everything that's going on. The club has to know what this is all about. One group that they've got to work with a lot, and Neil will deal with this a little bit later, but that's your Greens Committee. And the other one that is going to play a big role is your social team that are going to look after the elements on the outside of the green itself. And all of these are necessary as you're going to make this a success. Sponsors are key. They're generally used for your open tournaments, but you can use them if you're lucky enough to have a lot of sponsors. You can use them for your club events too. Make sure your sponsors are lined up before you finalize your calendar and start to market the events. This avoids embarrassment, and there's nothing worse than saying, "Oh, I've got a tournament, and here it is. It's a pairs tournament. And Expedia Cruises is sponsoring it," and then you find out 3 weeks before the event that Expedia Cruises has gone a different way with their sponsorship funds, and they're not sponsoring you, and now you're in a really big pickle to try to pull this event off. Again, making sure that you know what your sponsor wants. The more you can be in alignment with him, the better the chance that they will be back and even increasing their sponsorship. The key here is communication. Make sure you invite them to the event. When I first started bowls, this happened a couple times where we were at events and people, the tournament was winding up and it was trophy time, and all of a sudden all you heard was, "Well, who invited the sponsor? Who invited?" And it was forgotten, and that doesn't help with the success of your event. Again, with the cooperation, make sure your treasurer sends the invoice to the sponsor well before the event. That'll get your money in hand for that event, and again, avoids embarrassment. One of the secrets I've always tended to follow, and you take this for what it's worth, but use the sponsorship monies for the prizes, and follow their sponsorship wishes. This is a business for the sponsor. They're donating money, and if all of their money is going to buy the muffins in the morning, they're not going to be happy with this event and not likely sponsor you anymore. And then one thing more we'll deal with here is promoting your event. For your club events, your club calendar, your bulletin boards, and your website, make sure that stuff is easily accessible, it's clear and concise, it provides all the details and the information that people will want to know whether or not they want to play in your club event. You'll have, your event starts at 9 o'clock and you forgot to put down in your marketing that it was a 9 o'clock start, and folks are showing up at 10 and expecting to still get into the event. That's not the way it works, and so you have to be clear. Again, your open events, the district calendar as well as SAM. Market to your area clubs. This probably means that your club representatives or your convener is going to the area clubs to help market the open events and say, hey, you know, we've got a tournament coming up in 3 weeks. You might want to consider. But again, with your posters, make sure that they're distributed with all of the details. And the most important detail is that you've got some contact person. It's not good enough to say it's Highland Park. You've got to have a person's name, email, and phone number that any participant can reach out and ask any questions, get the information they need. The other key thing is when somebody has registered for your tournament, make sure that the moment you receive that entry, you confirm back to them you're in the tournament. We'll be getting you back to you with more details and logistics closer to the event, but confirm with them because they're sent in an entry and they're not certain that they've even got that it's been received by the club. Participants.
Brad, could I add something on the previous
Yes.
slide?
Sorry, yep.
A good way to promote your tournament is for you to go to other clubs' tournaments. I'm not talking to you, Brad.
Yeah.
I just mean in general. I go to a lot of tournaments. I go to as many as I can. And something I always do after the prizes are handed out is, because I have a big mouth, so I can do this. I memorize what the next 3 tournaments are in the district, and I say the next 3 tournaments is Nepean, Iroquois, Highland Park again. And I have found that I often get 1 or 2 entries of people, because everybody who plays in tournaments is there, and perhaps they've forgotten to sign up, and I more often than not get 1 or 2 entries just at that last minute promotion.
Thanks, Neil. So ultimately, tournaments are for the participants. If you don't have any participants, you don't have a tournament. So again, when it comes to your participants, make sure that your details are clear. They know what it is they're signing up for and what is expected of them when they arrive at your club. Keep communication frequent, make it clear and timely. Now I know traditionally, I believe in bowls, when people host tournaments, the open tournaments, they tend to have 50% of the teams come from outside their club and 50% of the teams from inside the club. I've pushed that a little different at Highland Park, and I cap it at 25% of the teams being from inside the club. The other 75% are from outside the club. That's the idea, is to bring folks in. I then have, fill teams within the club available, that if anyone drops out at the last minute, or we have an odd number of entries, you've got that fill team to balance your structure. But I've always felt the more folks you can bring into the club, the better it is for the participants. Confirmations and a logistics email the week of the tournament. As an example, Highland Park is right in the middle of the Westboro Community Center. We have mostly Saturday tournaments, and kitty corner to our green is a farmer's market that runs at the same time. That brings a lot of people down into that part of the community. So we need to get parking passes for everyone for the street parking that's available. Otherwise, folks could end up getting parking tickets while they're visiting our club, and that is not good for the success of your tournament. So make sure that all of these elements are done the week of the tournament. They've got that information. They know to put it in their dashboard. They know what time they can practice, what time they can show up. And all of those elements are important. So Neil, over to you.
Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of interesting questions in the chat. I hope we have time for some discussion at the end. Yeah, certainly I'm not trying to say that my ideas about tournaments are the be all and end all. So I'm going to talk about execution, which is sort of focuses on the day of, although a lot of what I'm talking about does take some planning. Much of it is, you really only have to do the planning once. So we'll go to the next slide and just leave it here. So if there's something I've found that some tournaments are lacking, it's conditions of play. They're a little casual about them. And well, before I said, if we're just here to have fun, right? If we're just here to have fun, why do we need to be so fussy about conditions of play? It actually saves time to have them written down and sent out in advance. You can prevent a lot of disputes. And when you host a tournament, you are you're the controlling body, and it's actually required by the laws of the sport. And if you don't have them, then you can end up hearing another phrase that I hate hearing at tournaments are people who try to resolve disputes by saying that, well, I've been to provincials, or I've done this, or I've done that, or even worse, I'm an umpire. I hope no actual umpire would ever say that, but you never know. So go ahead, Brad. Now, these are the things that you really do have to put in writing. So I don't know, many of us may not have played a game without the respot rule being in effect, but actually the default is that there is no respot rule. And if the jack goes out of play, then it's a dead end. So you really do need to put that in writing somewhere. The big one that probably leads to disputes are the restrictions on player movement. If you don't write down any restrictions, then there are no restrictions. That's the default setting. So it's a very good idea to restrict visits to the head so that you don't have some games going a lot longer than others. Another thing that might be a good idea is to put in some provisions for trial ends. Here's where different types of players will have different feelings and expectations about trial ends. A very competitive player would be very happy to have 2 full trial ends, whereas your more casual players will just find that they're a bit of a waste of time, and why are we doing this? There are some different ways of doing it, but it's a good idea to have that provision in your conditions of play. Strange one I've never understood is why in tournaments do we have a special rule for equidistant bowls? Anyway, we seem to, so it's a good idea to have that in there as well. These are what I call the key items. You should have these down in writing and send them in advance to the participants. You can expect that most people won't read them. So you should probably also have a very short speech before the first game of your tournament. At the very least, to say what the restrictions are on player movement. The other things here don't come up very often, so you can deal with those as they happen. Some good ideas that you might want to include are just to advise people that they can use a competent person nearby as an umpire. Doesn't have to be a skip. The skips might be at the other end, or they might not be competent. Who knows? Another thing is, it might not be a bad idea to have detailed provisions for emergencies. Like, what if you've taken in all this money, what happens if the tournament is called off? Okay. And you could also have provisions for prizes. So good idea to have a comprehensive set of conditions of play. You really only have to do this once. You're not going to change them much from year to year. And at the end, the Nepean Lawn Bowls conditions of play, I've put them on our website. There's a link. You're welcome to use them. Obviously read through them because you might want different things, and then you can just edit and change it, and then you're pretty much done for good. Okay. So next up is the playing surface. Okay. This is a really challenging one because as the tournament director, you're probably not the person looking after your greens. And looking after the greens is a huge job, very time consuming, requires a lot of knowledge, and there are a lot of different opinions about about the right way of doing things is. What I will say, and I will admit to my values as a player who sort of expects to be competitive, maybe win a tournament that I enter, I will want the greens to be cut, a grass green. I want the grass greens to be cut the day of the turn, and not the day before or 2 days before. Okay. You might have a greenskeeper who doesn't agree. Or you may only have one person at your club who is able to cut the greens. So these are things that might require some relationship building well in advance. Getting it across to your greenskeeper that, this is a tournament, people are coming from all over, paying a fee, there's a sponsor. Really, the greens should be cut that day. If you lack the resources, then you can work in advance on expanding those resources. Cutting a green is, I'd call it a moderate physical challenge, but it is not a technical challenge. You can probably have other people in your club who could cut a green if the greenskeeper is not available. There are some other things that you can do. Marking the respots is nice. I don't know why I put that second, because that's pretty quick. Maybe that should be the next thing on the list. If you have a greens roller and you have time, go ahead and roll the greens, but I don't call that a substitute for cutting. Another thing you can do, which is fun, people really enjoy it, it makes you feel like you're part of something special, is marking the centers of the rink. Although really, if you think about it, it doesn't actually save all that much time during the day. Maybe 5 minutes if you add it all up from beginning to end. But it's fun. You want to leave time for people to deliver bowls perpendicular to play beforehand. So if there's not time to do all these things, then maybe consider not marking the rink centers, if that takes quite a bit of time during the day. Most important, in my opinion, cut the greens before play that morning. Okay? And before that, I wanted to get to my third phrase that I don't like hearing. The first one was, we're just here to have fun. Second one was, I've been to provincials. The third one relates to the playing surface. And sometimes people say, well, it's the same for both teams. And that's true, but it's kind of an excuse for just not doing things properly. It's true that it's the same for both teams, but if it's a bad experience, then probably both teams won't come back next time. So that's why you want to do your best with preparing your playing surface. Okay, next up. Okay, scoring. I'm a huge proponent. Officially, the OLBA is a huge proponent of using scoreboards for every game, if possible. And I would say definitely in a tournament, if you have scoreboards, please use them. And if you don't have scoreboards at all, then the next time you get your New Horizons for Seniors grant, then throw in a light item for those Drake's Pride flip scoreboards, or you can get the there are people in Ontario who make them as well. They're fairly easy to use. People like having scoreboards. They like knowing what's going on during their own game and also games that are nearby. It just makes the whole day more fun. So please use them. If there's one thing that will make people not come back to a tournament, it's mistakes. Okay. So mistakes in recording, tabulating scores, ranking teams, getting the wrong people playing each other in the second or third game, giving the wrong prize, giving the trophy to the wrong team. These are all things that you really, really want to avoid. Okay. If you can, I really encourage you to use a computer for scoring and ranking. Okay. If your tournament is what I'd call the standard one-day Ontario 2 or 3 game tournament. So this is where you re-rank teams after each game and high plays high and so on and so forth. Then there is a There's a scorekeeper that's out there. You can just go and get it and download it and use it. It's used quite a bit around Ontario. I just realized it's 10 years old. And so what I mean by that is it doesn't really have any mistakes in it anymore. So there'll be a link at the end. I know it's not the only scorekeeper that's out there. Maybe there are others, but this is the one that I know about because I made it. The great thing about a scorekeeper is that it really prevents you from making big mistakes. And also it prevents sitting around waiting for the scores to be tabulated. People want to get out there and play. People want to get on with their day at the end of the tournament without waiting for the scores. Okay, so that's a few things that you might want to change at your tournaments with respect to scoring. Finally, the next slide, disasters. Okay, so when you are organizing the tournament, unfortunately, you have to be able to deal firmly with bad things that happen. The most common would be dangerous conditions, lightning, heavy rain, things just incompatible with play. If I had a piece of advice about dealing with dangerous conditions, it's that because players are not rational decision makers when it comes to playing or not, is that you have to decide and you have to tell them. Okay? In other words, I really recommend not putting it to a vote. Whatever the decision is, some people aren't going to be happy with it. So you might as well just tell them what the decision is without setting people against each other. As I said, players are generally not rational, and also there's a heavy peer pressure to play as opposed to not play. So for dangerous conditions, that's my suggestion. You can have no-shows, people showing up without confirmed entries. Those are unfortunate situations that you might have to deal with. I guess in the obvious way, you have to exclude somebody. That's not too fun. Most clubs would exclude a home team if there's no obvious blame in somebody in a no-show. Very occasionally, I don't think this is very common, but there may be misconduct that takes place at a tournament that's serious enough that you feel that you have to deal with. Okay. As the host of a tournament, you are certainly free to not invite people back if they commit some sort of misconduct. But as far as your club is concerned, that's kind of the end of it. So how do you actually deal with misconduct that's important enough to follow up on? It's to complain to the club to which the violator belongs. It's their club that would control what any further consequences are. Okay. Perhaps the OLBA, but generally they're going to ask you to please refer it to the member club. Okay. So I just saw a few comments about dangerous conditions. I'm not suggesting that the tournament organizer just make up rules. Okay, I mean there are rules and you should follow them. But when it comes to things like lightning, that's fairly easy. You don't play in lightning. For heat, you can look at what the forecast is, or you can look at your phone and see what the temperature is and apply the rules. Things like heavy rain are a little harder. That's more of a judgment call. But either way, you're in charge. You make the decision, and announce your decision and stick by it. Okay. So that's what I have to say about the day of game execution.
And the last thing we'll touch on is some of the follow-up. So your tournament's over, you've handed out the trophies. As a tournament organizer, your job's not done yet. So just to keep in mind, post-tournament activities, make sure all your records and data are kept, contact information for players for the following year or for other tournaments when you're looking to fill up your tournaments. Prepare an end of event report. What worked? What didn't work? You might not be the match director the next year, so someone picking up the event can look and say, okay, this is what worked and what didn't. We want to keep change that's the elements that didn't work and keep those elements that did work. Another big faux pas that is often done is forgetting to thank the sponsor. Following the event, make sure you send them a note on behalf of the board that says, thank you for your participation, blah, blah, blah. It also gives you a chance to start setting them up for the next event, whether that's next season or if they do multiple events during the season for you. But you've got to remember to do that for a successful tournament. And the other one is to ensure that all of the volunteers are recognized for their work. At our club, we have monthly newsletters that go out from the match committee that talk about the various events. And in that gives you your opportunity to point out individuals who did above and beyond, but also just a general thank you to all of your club volunteers. So yes, they're always recognized at the trophy presentation, but not everyone's always there. Put it in writing, let people know that what they've done is appreciative. I guess the next part, Neil, if you want to just...
I'll just say, I can say this. When these slides are posted, these are actually links that you can follow. For the first two, the Drawmaster resources, you can just go to the OLBA website and click those buttons in sequence, and you'll see what you need. If you want an example, conditions of play that you can modify, then you can go to the Nepean Lawn Bowls website and look under policies and forms. The last one, if you just Google Simple Bowls Scorekeeper, you'll find it. But when this is publicized, that will be a clickable link as well.
So Brian, I guess we hand it over to you.
I am here. So questions from the field. If you have a question, put your hand up and we'll see what we can do to help you out. Okay, David Stafford has a question. You have to unmute your David, you're not unmuted. You see the microphone button in the bottom left?
Hello?
There you go.
Okay. What is SAM?
It's a sports authorization manager. We use SAM to keep track of the membership. We use it for tournaments. And if you're an OLBA member, Dave, you are in SAM. Someone in your club would have entered you into it.
Okay. Thank you. Helpful.
It's Karen Atkins speaking. Yeah, so further, in addition to SAM managing membership, so that's the membership database where we have all 7,500 members of the association. It's got information in all the clubs, and all of that stuff is password protected so that only the appropriate people can access things. So your club membership person can only see the stuff for people from your club, for example. There are public portions of the site as well, where, for example, the listing of tournaments. If you go on the OLBA website and look at the list of all the tournaments, those are tournaments that clubs have entered in the database, and it has all those details, as are the championships also listed there. And there's a listing of all the clubs generated through the database that is there. So if somebody comes to Ontario and wants to find out where clubs are, or they're going on vacation in an area of the province and they want to find out if there's a club near there so they can go bowling, they can use that database to find the clubs in their area.
Okay, thank you for that expansion of thought there, Karen. Appreciate it. Over to Harry French.
Hi, thank you for the presentation and taking your time to do this tonight. I'm with the Stouffville Lawn Bowling Club. I wanted to ask whether the simple bowl scorekeeper is used by your draw master, or is it somebody else who's using that at the at your tournaments?
It's the draw master that would use that, Harry.
I see. Okay. And can you tell me a little bit more about how well it's been received in terms of using it in tournaments? I mean,
Oh.
we're looking at that ourselves, and actually we're in the process of creating something. We thought something was already out there, but couldn't find it.
Yeah, well,
So
Neil's.
I can talk about that. So yeah,
over to
so
Neil.
the Simple Bull Scorekeeper, it's not the only thing that's out there. So and obviously I don't benefit from it. It is an Excel spreadsheet. That's really all it is, with some special things built into it. And I made it when I was a member at Etobicoke because I'm impatient and I didn't like sitting around waiting for results. And the good people at Etobicoke sort of took me under their wing, and we developed it over a year or two. And that's 2017 now, I guess. Since then, it's really been mostly unchanged. And when I came to Ottawa, I discovered that several clubs were already using it. And this was just word of mouth. It's never been promoted, certainly not by me. I think it's just been, it's just spread around through word of mouth. And everybody I've heard from seems to like it a lot. Bear in mind, of course, that it only works for what I'd call the standard Ontario type of tournament. If you have any sort of unusual scoring or an unusual format, then you'd have to do something yourself.
Yes, well, we don't. So it would be, thank you very much for sharing that. This plus all the other things you said tonight make my time certainly well worthwhile being here tonight with you. Thank you.
Okay, so Neil, how can we get this?
I've already downloaded it.
Oh, you've already got it?
Somebody put it in the link.
Oh, okay,
I'm not sure
perfect.
whether it was Neil, and I downloaded it to look at it.
Awesome. That worked out good for you, Harry.
Thank you.
Okay, any other hands up? Doug, go ahead. You might be muted, Doug.
Yeah, we're okay now. Thank you. My question is related to all the really good questions that were asked. I could see them popping up on the screen, but I hope that you will be giving them to us as part of the information you'll download onto the web. Is that correct? Because some of the questions were ones that I'd like to know the answers to.
Kevin indicated that he's going to take a snapshot of the chat, and he's going to post the chat up.
Okay.
Along with the presentation.
Thank you. That would be very helpful. And
Okay.
Neil, we do use Scorekeeper.
Where are you?
Etobicoke.
Oh, wow. There you go. The OG.
Yeah. Thank you.
A question came up, Neil, about the assignment of rinks with Scorekeeper. Yes. I believe it doesn't do that, but I'll let you answer that.
So it is not a tournament organizer. Okay, it's a tournament scorekeeper. So the draw master has to do the rink assignments. However, it does warn you if you're making a mistake. Primarily putting someone on the same rink twice. But if you want it, you can do it if you want, but it will warn you.
Okay. Any other hands? Knight, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you. So speaking of questions that were in the chat, Carol Finlayson asked, what is Scotch pears? And I did not see an answer in the chat.
There was an answer. Let me back it up.
Yeah, I may have missed it. I had to sign out because I couldn't see any of the.
Yeah,
slides,
Andrew.
so
Andrew Keegan put a response in. It's a 2-player per team format where each player delivers 4 bowls, alternating positions as lead and skip every 4 ends, rather than every end as in Australian pairs. It is frequently played as a mixed format, allowing for strategic play variations over a set number of ends, such as switching roles halfway through a 12-end game. So that will be available once Kevin gets that, or as Andrew said, you can use some AI and Google it.
super, thank you.
Okay, David Ward. You're muted, David. You need to turn your microphone on.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Actually, my question was answered. I just wanted to know if this was going to go up onto the OLBA website. Unfortunately, I got tied up with something, so I wasn't able to be part of the whole presentation. But I would like to be able to view it later on. So it sounds to me like that's going to be posted up there. So we're good to go.
Okay, excellent. And one thing I advise too, have a look at the Drawmaster Resources document that's available on the OLBA website. There's a wealth of information there. And we were taking this presentation from the perspective of believing that people will have read that document prior to this. So have a look at that.
Will do. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, welcome, Dave. Now, John Fenton, I saw your hand up a while ago, but now it's down. Do you have a question?
I got it answered. Thank you.
Okay, John. All right, any other hands up? Okay. Hearing none, I would like to say thank you to both Brad, Neil, and Kevin for helping out here. I appreciate the effort that went into creating this PowerPoint. It was well done. And I think we were very helpful, and I like seeing these thumbs up and thank yous coming across the screen here now. Is appreciated. And we'll look forward to seeing this posted up on the website shortly. And yeah, this has been good. I hope this helps you run a successful tournament in 2026.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If
Thank
the presentation team would just like to hang on after everybody signed out.
Thank you. Good night.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.